Hello, welcome to Sun Connection, your professional well-being mentoring program. I'm Belen, your mentor. Today we're going to cover a very common question I tend to get asked by young professionals, and it is, how do I handle a difficult conversation? We normally in the workplace and even in our personal lives actually face hard conversations. And there is nothing worse than you finishing those conversations with a bad taste, with potential resentment of feeling that I could have done this better, or actually I don't like that person doesn't like me. It's just not healthy. Not healthy at an emotional level, at a physiological level. It just doesn't help us in the long run. So that's the reason I wanted to cover this particular one today. As you know, these mentoring programs actually work. You place me a question and I'll just come and share with you my perspective from my experience and my insights after working over 25 years in corporate organizations, different size organizations in different countries. So I'm very keen to share the experiences I have had and help young professionals grow and develop much faster than what I did in my younger ages. So let's get started. How to handle a difficult conversation. I would actually say, from my perspective, 3 things or 3 tips to always work on when you face that emotionally charged conversation. The first one is, always remember, people don't come to work or people don't come into your personal life to annoy you. People actually come with really good intentions. People have got their own objectives. They want to add value, particularly in the workplace. They want to add value in their own ways. They actually want to do the best they can and achieve the goals they are being set up to do. So once we remember during those difficult conversations, this person didn't come to work today to annoy me. This person actually has got a goal or an objective that might be different to mine. So how do I get myself into understanding the viewpoint of that person? That's what we call empathy. So empathy is not an easy concept. I'm not going to cover that in detail today. That will be its own video altogether. However, for this particular first tip is, remember, people don't come to work to annoy you. So let's get to seek to understand what is the objectives, what are their goals, what are they trying to achieve, and what is the source of that conflict at that point in time. Second tip is, connect with your physical body, disconnect with your emotions. Because normally when we actually have got those very heavily charged, difficult conversations, our emotions are on fire. So what normally happens at the physiological level is that our frontal lobe of the brain, that is the one that actually has developed over thousands and thousands and thousands of years, to actually enact on a defensive mode. So when there is a threat, when there is something that challenges us, this part of the brain is the one that activates that frontal lobe and it gets into a defensive mode. So what happens? Blood flows into physical parts of the body where we want to defend ourselves. So if we feel threatened because someone is raising their voice, most likely we are gonna get very emotionally charged and also start to raise our voice, because that will be a defensive mechanism. That is all driven by this part of the brain. So to actually help disconnect from those emotions that are there, we need to activate this part of the brain, that is the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is the one that helps with rational thinking. It's actually the part where the academic studies actually happen in your brain. So we learn by activating the parietal lobe mathematical problems, learning how to write, how to read, all those academic activities, which actually gets us into a rational mode. So when we activate the parietal lobe, that is when we really start to think about, okay, how do I better manage this situation? What is this person actually really trying to tell me? How do I connect with them in a different way that removes the emotions and activates the rational part? That is the part of the brain that we seek to activate. Now you must be wondering, okay, thank you, Belen. How the heck I do that? Oh, so hard. Breathe. And you will say, okay, but I breathe all the time. Yes, but there are different types of breathings. So when we are stressed, we tend to have a very upper side of the body breathing. We start to breathe very fast. And it's the chest, the one that is what we call a chest breathing. We are breathing out from the chest, which actually gets us even more emotionally charged because we are in that defensive. I need to run, I need to escape, I need to protect myself. So we actually need to change that breathing from the upper side to the lower side, your belly. How do we get there? We breathe through the nose slowly. 1, 2, 3 in, 1, 2, 3 out. 1, 2, 3 in, 1, 2, 3 out. And we do that 3 times. It might feel for ages when you are in that environment of that difficult conversation. However, it just takes 20 seconds. After those 20 seconds, you will immediately sense how the stress in your body releases and how you start really to listen to what's happening in the conversation and how the emotions are not there anymore, but rather your rational brain is activated. So breathing actually helps regulate extremely fast. I must confess there are multiple breathing techniques. We do undertake seminars and workshops on different breathing techniques that actually helps activating different parts of the body. If you want to have some of those experiences, check in our website, sunconnection.au, and we actually have got our seminars listed there. So whenever you want, you can enroll and join us in those if you want to learn more about breathing. For difficult conversations, keep it simple. 3 in, 3 out. Now the third tip, dialogue. There is no good when we are in a difficult conversation remaining quiet. And I know introverts, you group of introverts, I'm not an introvert as you can tell, so I cannot join you on that. However, I know that introverted people need to listen, need to digest, and actually don't like expressing thoughts or feelings in a fast way until they have had enough time to reflect on the information. However, in a difficult conversation, particularly if you are an introvert and you are dealing with an extrovert, it's extremely important that you open dialogue, that you express your point of view, your thinking, or drive the conversation in the area that you want to drive it to land in the best possible outcome. How do we do that? So, first thing is looking at our language. What are the words we are using? Are we talking in a first person? I feel, I do? Or are we talking on a third person? The situation. This is what happened. Recommendation? Talk about the what, the situation, the goal that is being sought, the changes that need to be made, the decision that has to be made. Change the language from I think we should do this to have we considered or the situation actually requires to. Very different approach. Remove emotional language as much as you can. Okay, when we are in a difficult conversation, sometimes it's really hard to detract that emotional language that might be coming through. Be aware of what is the language being used from that sort of emotional place, because that might actually trigger emotional responses as well from the other person. How to do that? That's a bit tricky. That's the reason we breathe, to actually just activate that part of the brain that really helps us formulate the thoughts and express them in the best possible way with the least amount of emotions. Actively listen to the other person. That's how dialogue works. When we were in the study ages ago, they would tell us to actually have a conversation, you need to have a speaker and a listener. And to have a dialogue, the roles needs to be inverted throughout it. So ensure that you also stop and listen. And truly listen. That is what is called actively listening. Actively listening is when you listen to seek to understand, not to respond. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a future video, because that actually deserves its own 15 minutes conversation. Then finally, look at mirroring the physical body of that person and change the pace, change the tone. If the person has got arms crossed, mirror them for a moment. And as you take the dialogue, change space. We humans, funny enough, tend to actually replicate behaviors. That's what we learned since we were little. We would actually replicate the behaviors of our parents. So we tend to, our brain is programmed and wired to replicate behaviors that we see. So mirror the physical body of the person and then change it to open for the conversation. Person has got a high pitch, mirror that and then bring it into a quieter, more balanced way. That is the best way to really connect better in the dialogue. Now, activity for you, because this doesn't come for free. If you really want to be better, you need to work on this and practice. So what I would suggest is, in the next time that you have got a difficult conversation, first observe what's happening in your body. Where is the tension? Do you get tension around the neck? Do you get the stomach being compressed? Do you get a little tick on the finger? Do you feel like an urge to move? Where is the tension? Once you understand where the tension is, then breathe. And take that breathing, as I explained, from the stomach, from the lower side of the body, and check what happens after. Check what's happening with your body. Once those part of tension relaxes, magic happens. Reflect at the end of the day, when you have had a difficult conversation, whether you use this technique and what was the outcome out of it. If you would like to get a perspective on any question that you might have or any situation that you have faced, please put it on the comment section of this video. I will look at it and then place a video responding to that question. So don't forget to subscribe so that way you do not miss the answer. And remember, every day, in every way, be the best version of yourself. To the next one.